Coach Dillon, appreciate the time. We'll start with opening thoughts on the game from you both and then take questions.
Kick us off.
Yeah, I mean, I think going down 5-0 in the beginning is kind of tough to bounce back from, but we show our resiliency, I guess, week after week at this point. But after overcoming that, our whole team was playing great, I think, in the second and third. Would have liked to pop a couple more in on our offensive side, but, our defense did a hell of a job giving us that opportunity. So I was really proud of those guys, and honestly should have probably been able to come out on top at the end, and it's early in the season, so it's honestly really motivating to see it. I think, the more we get these guys familiar, we just put in 2 middies basically in the lineup this week. So, growing with those guys, we didn't have camp with them. So I think we're only going to get better from there. So it was a great showing, obviously disappointing, but I think there's a lot to build off of there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. 2 weeks in a row, putting ourselves in a pretty big hole. It just can't happen, right? I mean, at this level, you go down 5. It's a tough road to trek up from there. I think losing Merle, you lose a guy like Merle. He's a vocal leader, he's a captain. I think that definitely was weighing on some guys, knowing that he's probably not coming back this year at this point. Depending on how that plays out. So, I think that definitely has an impact. And then you're short a runner, right? I mean, the reality is with 19 guys, you drop one. We got to shuffle some things around. English is now going out the back door. So, we just had to shuffle on the fly. But to Dylan's point, I mean, I think the guys answered when they needed to. And, we were down to a shot with 5 seconds in the game. Pretty good. Took the ball back twice there at the end. I'm proud of the guys. I'm proud of the fight. And, moving on to next week.
Questions?
Coach, what do you feel like you got out of Sam Hanley in his first game with the Redwoods?
Yeah, I mean, huge 2-pointer for us, and another big goal, down the stretch there. So, I mean, I think he's just getting familiar. He's got to figure it out a little bit. It's tough when you get traded in the middle of the season. He's got a lot to learn. We threw a lot at him and Sammy English, in 2 days to try to figure things out. And, I think he's only going to continue to go up from here. So, we're excited, about him. He's a very, very skilled player, big body, he's strong, he's tough. So I think once he gets settled in, he's going to be a nice piece for us.
Coach DJ from Outside the Box podcast. You guys got great play from Chris Fake today. Talk about kind of the chance he gave you guys with completely taking Connor Fields out of the game and kind of minimizing the impact he had on the game today.
Yeah, I mean, I love our defense. I mean, I think that shows just with the approach that we had going into this season. And Joe and I, we've talked a lot about that, where we felt really comfortable with that group. And I think those guys have done an incredible job. Being perfectly honest, I mean, those guys have done great 3 weeks in a row here. Again, we need to collectively be better for those guys, at the start of the game. But, when you look at that group, I mean, I think Arden Cohen had a, amazing game last week. Fake again this week. Again, losing Merle changes things, right? It just changes that dynamic down low, and I think those guys did a great job of, eliminating some of that, down low pressure, and I think we just need to do a better job in transition and between the lines with our D.
For Dylan, 4 points tonight. You led the team in points. 3 weeks through this season so far, it just feels like you're just loose out there. You're comfortable and having fun playing lacrosse. What's it been like, being able to get integrated into this system, and what do you think has been, kind of the key for, this coaching staff kind of unlocking your game again?
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun. I mean, I think they just put the right guys in the locker room. Whether we're flying here, training here, like, we're having a great time, and it just shows in the locker room. Like, everyone's unselfish, just wants to be there with their boys and just kind of hang out, and we bring that onto the field. Like, we share the ball on the offensive side. The D's got great camaraderie. So, it's been a ton of fun to play, and that goes with the coaches instilling that culture into us, and, just having faith in us. It makes us able to, like, play very loose, and that, you're not just going to get yanked. Go take a shot. Coach says all the time, take more shots. Or, we might think, hey, we might want to dial it back here. So just having that ability to kind of bounce back and know you're not getting ripped off right after a bad shot, it goes a long way for us. So we've just been having fun. These guys are great.
Other questions in the room?
Coach, what did you see from Sam English in his debut?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough coming in 3 weeks in, not having camp. There's obviously an adjustment period. I think we all know that. I think he's phenomenal player, phenomenal college player. But when you take that jump 3 games in, it just takes a little time. And I think he's going to be settled in no time, get his confidence up. And there's some nerves there too, and I told him, I told all the guys, going into Albany, it's like we threw 5 rookies out there and we threw him in today. And it's like, you only get one first game as a pro and you got to enjoy it, and you're going to make mistakes and you're going to be nervous and you're going to, but it's like, enjoy that moment, man. I wanted that for him. And honestly, he had a great look at the end of the game and I'm proud of him for taking it. And that's the kind of guy that he is, right? So he's been a vocal guy. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, and I think he's going to be outstanding as we move forward. It's a short season, but we're only 3 games in, and I know, everybody wants to just continue to say we're not real, we're not the thing, and I love that, man. Keep writing that stuff for us, please. Like I love it. We know exactly who we are, and the guys in the room. That's all that matters. And I feel very good about where we are. And in the direction we're going. So please, please put us at number 7 this week, please.
Go to the questions on Zoom. Phil.
Yeah, you both mentioned the difficulty of another slow start. And Dylan, while you said that the team was able to bounce back and you tie it at halftime, how difficult are those slow starts, especially as they get through the game? And what is the difference between the first quarter and the rest of the game for you all?
Yeah, I mean, those slow starts are real tough, especially against a team like that. They got a lot of senior dudes that, know how to wind the clock down and play. So, they're not going to make stupid mistakes and let us get a couple real quick. So, especially a team like that, it's real tough. But, that's why we're so confident in our guys and being able to come back from that. And our defense making stops play after play, and you kind of giving the O a chance. So, I think just settling down. Coach said we got a lot of new guys, but hey, all of us, are frantic a little bit. Just the nerves. So just settling in and making sure our guys know that, we're going to get the next one. I think it goes a long way. We just kind of had to take a breather again. And, second quarter, we were fine.
Chris?
Yeah, Coach, going toe-to-toe with the 2-time defending champions, with the team, including yourself, with relatively new players all put together, did something about this game really jump out to you on the positive side that you were a positive takeaway for your team?
I mean, yeah, there's always positives. It's hard to look at them in the moment when you walk in after a 1-goal loss. I tell the guys all the time, like, it doesn't matter who we're playing. Like, that to me is just Team X, and we have to treat it that way. We don't treat it that, I told the guys, they were talking about it, like, oh man, our history and this and that. It's like, dude, who cares? Like, that team is gone. Our team is gone. Everything is new. We are focused on us, and we're going to continue to focus on us. And I think, takeaways, it's like, man, we give up a 2-pointer with 4 seconds on the clock, right? A broken play. Like, that was a backbreaker. We went down 5-0, but, you guys all in this room, pick up the stats and take a look. I think you're going to be really surprised. I just looked at them coming in. It's very close. We won some categories statistically, and it's like we clean a couple things up, and realistically, I think we're winning this game by 2. So, I think, it's neither here nor there. I'm excited to watch the game as soon as I can, and, we're going to build. So I think, our thing all year has just been, brick by brick, and, we got some guys back that we want to have in the lineup, and I think, we're it's hard to say we're in a good spot after a loss, but I like where we're at. And to be honest with you, it's hard to keep winning. And I was on a team that went undefeated when I played. The only team in pro history I was on. I went 14-0, and we lost in the first round of the playoffs. So it's good to get a couple losses out of the way and figure out who you are and how you respond. So to me, this is just another day, and next week is another game, and we're forgetting the ones that we played.
Last question, Phil.
This game seemed like a much more physical contest than the first 2, and obviously that's Utah's MO on defense. But how did you all react and respond to the physicality, and what was it like going up against a defense that played a little differently than you've seen so far?
I mean, I'm not a complainer. I don't make excuses. We talk about that too. It's like, I'm not one of those, but when you two-hand smash a stick across my attackman's head, that's, I got a problem with that. When we get a penalty, they get a penalty, should be the only penalty, and then they call us for secondary stuff when you should take 2 guys there. Take 2 guys, and we should actually be man up. That situation flips. We're man down. It's like those are frustrating moments when you're in a physical game, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But I think I'm really proud of our guys keeping their cool. As many bodies as they were laying, we were laying them on the other end. And again, our defense is great, and we play as a team. The boys backing each other up, and they got the green light to back each other up every day of the week. So, again, I'm proud of the response we had, and obviously we want to stay out of the box, but I think the boys answered when they needed to.
Thank you both. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach Tom, Sam, congrats on the win. We'll start with opening thoughts on the game from you three and then take questions.
I'll start quick. I mean, you know, if you're not a fan of lacrosse, you know, something's wrong with you. Like, that's just an exciting game. You know, tale of quarters, right? We came out and asserted ourselves early, and then, you know, I give those guys a lot of credit. That's a different team, and there's no quit. So, you know, that became a battle back and forth. I felt like offensively we're a little bit better tonight than we've been and got ourselves a little bit loose. You know, play with some energy. And at the end of the day, like, just we said to our guys at the end, like, made plays, you know, showed some grit and get out with a W. And I give us, you know, a lot of credit. So, you know, proud of these guys and, you know, thankful to – it was a big game. We talked about this being essentially a playoff game and having importance down the line because it's a Western Conference game and a two-goal swing or two-game swing potentially. So that's a good win for us.
Yeah, it's good for us to get back in the win column. You know, something we've kind of harped on the last couple of years are just kind of the, like, what got you there plays, and a lot of times it's those kind of invisible, you know, hustle plays where, you know, it's not necessarily a goal or a cause turnover, a save, or an assist. It's kind of those intangibles, and, you know, I think we made a string of those today that led to the win. So I think getting back in that kind of mindset, and, you know, again, it starts with Coach kind of preaching that message and seeing it lead to some success for us in a tight game is definitely a good feeling. So good to get back on track and, you know, want to just keep building.
Yeah, it was a fun atmosphere in Philly, and sort of an up and down game, starting off, you know, 5-0 and then them fighting back, and then we were able to sort of calm down later in the game and get a lead. So fun game.
Tom, before you hit Sam for that two-pointer in the fourth quarter, what was going through your head when you saw the ball bouncing towards the sideline there?
I was going to throw it in the corner. I was gonna dump it in the corner and try to get our defense on, and, you know, credit to Sam. I mean, he kind of recognized he had some space. You know, I knew if they didn't adjust quick, right, I was going to give him a shot, and, you know, sure enough, he had some space and he canned it. Right, he ripped it from, you know, a pretty deep shot, and that's got to be your first two-pointer, I'd imagine. It was a huge play, right? It's a one-goal game, and we get that late in the game. So I mean, yeah, it was huge, and I think it starts with him being mentally dialed in and ready to make a play as a rookie. You know, that's kind of what we want from everybody, and, you know, I'm proud of a lot of the plays he made today, but that was a huge one.
Coach, or for any of you, how big was the goal by Mike Sisselberger? I know he hasn't had his best start to the season at the stripe from percentage-wise, but when you see he can make a big play like that and provide some juice, how big is that for you guys?
Yeah, he's a freight train and tough to stop, and it's a little bit of no, but, you know, honestly, he's got a penchant for making big plays, and, you know, honestly happy for him, to your point. Like, he hasn't lit the world on fire, but he's battled, and we'll take that effort, you know, game in, game out, and you know, so for him to have a good one in his hometown and a lot of fans in the stands, like, I'm thrilled for him just because he cares so much, he competes so hard, so you just want to see somebody like that have that reward, and it was a huge goal for us, juice goal, and you know, gave us a little bit of breathing room, but yeah, I'm fired up for him for sure.
And to follow up on that, for anyone who wants to answer, just kind of the middle of the field play from that whole rope unit, from face-off wins to ground balls to great defense to pushing transition, kind of just talk about the spark that group provided for you guys tonight.
I can take that. I mean, I think I mentioned it last week. I think, you know, oftentimes, like, the offense gets to kind of, you know, be the one sitting in these chairs, but that rope unit and our defense as a whole, and Dauber and Cage, they've been fantastic all year long, and, you know, that the rope guys in particular, the short sticks, like, those guys are as good as it gets, like, in every facet, you know, in terms of how they cover the ball, how they clear, how they play off ball, and then, you know, to your question, just their grit, their toughness, like, they're our engine, you know, and you know, we go as far as kind of they'll take us. So I think, you know, oftentimes the offense gets, you know, a lot of credit or whatever, but those guys are the heart and soul of our team, and I'm glad that they're on our side.
For Tom, last week you told me you wanted those opportunities back at the end of the game with the 2 turnovers that you felt, you kind of cost the team a bit. Today you lead the team in points. When you see guys like Fieldsy and Dyson kind of getting shut off by the Redwoods defense, is that something where it's like, hey, I'm going to take this in my own hands and kind of get that redemption factor?
Not really. I mean, I think, anytime, as a team, right, like, I'm glad we played on Friday this week. It's like one less day, get back out there. And then personally, like, you feel that way too, right? Like, we're all competitors. And, I'd hope that everybody on our team, and I mentioned it before, Sam making a huge play, can be that guy, right? And everybody has at one point in their career. So it's not the sort of thing where I go into the game thinking, man, I got to take over today. Or it could be any of us. And, I think I tried not to force the issue too much, tried to kind of take my chances, but I wouldn't say it has to do with anything that, how they were covering our guys or anything, that anybody could kind of be that guy for us, which I think is the beauty of our offense. And again, hopefully we have the culture, I'd like to think that we do, where that could be any of us, right? And there'll be days where some guys are, goose eggs and some other guys are lighting it up. And I think we have the sort of team that's happy with a win. So, thankfully, that was me today, but next week it could be any one of our guys offensively. So,
Coach, Sam has 6 points in the fourth quarter through 3 games. Just what have you seen from him late in games?
From Sam?
Yeah.
I've said this on a few post games already. Like doesn't back down from the challenge, man. He does not shy away from the moment, and from day one, he's been shot out of a rocket and goes at guys and makes plays and. Frankly, it's just is better than we thought. And the diversity to his game, dodging, feeding, some off-ball cutting, like just it's another real weapon for us that you have to account for. You got to choose who you're going to try to take away, and our job offensively, as Tom kind of alluded to, is feeding the hot hand, and Sam has risen to the occasion and. I know being on the sideline that I want to call his number and make sure that he's getting touches and, being in the room, an offensive room. We joked last night on a Zoom or 2 nights ago, like, playing with some really, legit Hall of Fame kind of dudes and he's fit in great. And, it's been exciting to see him produce.
Any other questions in the room?
Yeah, for Coach, you got Cam Wires back today. You guys have been kind of cycling through that position a little bit, get guys looks and waiting for Cam to obviously get back. What did you see from him? And then just the process through the first couple of weeks going with different guys there. What have you seen, just at the depth of that position for you guys and how versatile that makes you on defense?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, I think having that depth and we believe in John Robbins. We believe in Colby Bars. We believe in Cam Wires and frankly wanted to give, Cam a shot, and he looked good. He looked bouncy. He looked athletic. He's good in the ground. Ran the field and scored that big goal early. Just another tall, big, rangy, defenseman that knows how to play. That's tough. Plays with grit. So we've got good depth there, and I think that can be a strength for us. So it's good to see him back for sure.
Sam, how has Tom helped bring you into the fold as a rookie with him being one of the vets and leaders on this team?
Yeah, I mean, Tom's just been super encouraging, making my job super easy. Tom, Ryan, Grant, the older guys. I feel super lucky to be part of this group, and it's been super easy from day one. They're really encouraging. Telling me to dodge hard, go to the cage, telling me to shoot. Like it's really easy to play with those guys. You just go out there and play hard and listen to them. So. It's been an awesome experience so far playing with these older guys and sort of following their lead.
Questions on Zoom? Chris?
Yeah, hey, Tom and Coach Bass, if you want to weigh in here. Last week we were kind of talking about being able to convert more on the opportunities that the team was presenting in the offense. Was there a particular point of emphasis that you guys really wanted to focus on this week heading into this game that you felt kind of resulted in the success you had tonight?
You're the coach.
I'm the head coach, so I wear a couple hats, but I'm also the offensive guy. And, you know, we believe in our group, right? This is a vet group. You know, have we played well? No. So we try to just encourage our guys to trust themselves and play loose, but also play simple, right? I mean, I think we try to do too much. We've got a ton of talent, and we're just trying to manufacture goals and understand how to manage the game a little bit. And so, you know, we don't try not to get too high or too low. You know, trust our guys and trust the cohesiveness that we talked about earlier, that, you know, guys share the ball and there's an unselfish nature to us. And you know, hopefully that can continue to be a strength for us. So, you know, we got after them a little bit because, you know, we recognize the first two games was subpar for us on the offensive end. So today, you know, it was great to start the way we did, and we felt like, geez, you know, this is going to go great for 48 minutes, and, you know, but we found a way to execute. So I give our leadership and you know, the whole group a lot of credit.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, we mentioned it last week, like, you know, right after last week's game, it's like, oh, we're the worst offense ever, and you know, now it's, you know, it's usually, you know, after tonight, I don't think we feel we have everything figured out. I think we took some good steps forward, and that's been the messaging from coach. It's like, hey, like, this thing ain't broken. You know, we're, you know, the same group who's had success, but as we all know, it's kind of a process week to week. So, you know, last week it wasn't the end of the world, and tonight it's not like we have it all figured out. It's somewhere in the middle, and I think, like, the key as an offense is you kind of have to take a boring, super practical approach game in and game out. And, yeah, I think we made some adjustments that helped us tonight. Yeah, but I think we still, you know, had some turnovers that were uncharacteristic, you know, myself obviously included in that. You know, and those are the things we want to clean up. And, again, I think because we have a lot of experience in our group, we kind of understand that, you know, it's very week to week. It's early in the season. You can't wait to kind of make changes down the stretch, and you have to do it week in and week out. And I think we took a step in the right direction this week, and hopefully we keep that rolling.
Last question, Phil.
Yeah, the Redwoods offense has been one of the higher scoring groups in the PLL this season. And, you know, you guys held them to their lowest shooting percentage this season and their lowest goal total this season. What did your defense do tonight to slow them down, both figuratively on the scoreboard and literally slow down guys like Andrew McAdory and Sam English and some of the speed they've been playing with?
Yeah, those guys are impressive, like seeing them up close and personal and trying to defend them. I think, you know, there's they got a lot of tools and a lot of speed. So, you know, the backbone of our team is our defense and our goalie, without a doubt. You know, Coach Resch does a really good job getting those guys prepared and making adjustments as the game goes on. You know, we talked about earlier, we feel like our short sticks are as good as anybody. But, you know, as the game goes on, it's a thoughtful group too, so these guys are making adjustments as they go. There's a lot of dialogue. We try to take away transition. We try to crowd them. We try to take away some strengths. You know, it's always nice to have Dauber in the cage, and, you know, he makes big ones when you need him. Like, he's a gamer. I don't think he'd say it's his best game ever, but, like, that's our guy, and at the end of the game, he's making big saves. So we slowed them down enough, and, you know, again, credit to Coach Resch, credit to a game plan. But that's, you know, that's the core of our team. Like, you know, we can slow you down and we can be physical. You know, and I thought we did a nice job clearly tonight.
Thank you all. Enjoy the win.
Thanks.
See you all.